Amazing. And so we're going to just segue right into the kind of harnessing all three, Hannah's and Katie's and Otto's presentations this morning. I know not everyone went to all three, but there's and also Katie and Otto and Hannah, you get a chance to talk to each other too as well. It's not just who was listening. So if you heard something in each other's presentations, feel free to take this time too. So we can open it up for direct questions to individuals or anyone who may have an umbrella kind of question.
So I'll just say that Hannah is not on the call right now. Maybe she will come, but she's in Korea. So this is the middle of the night for her.
Yes.
So she presented at like 10 p.m.-ish. So this is probably now like 1, 2 a.m. So she might not come back.
There's 13 hours ahead of that. So she's, yes, 1:21 right now in her land. Yeah.
I feel like Hannah's I feel like I like Hannah's topic. I feel like she creates the connection between the movement and the signals with the activism. So the activism came into my mind is the female power, and that's a really interesting way to actually, you know, the human being's mindset is connected with your bodies, with your behaviors, and actually your movement, your behaviors is a reflection to your mindset. So so it's amazing to make the connection between each other and see how you express through your body to express your values, your how to say perceptions, cultures about what you would like to express. And I would also want to say I love the children literature, and I plan to create a children illustration in the following months. So if we could keep touch and then may get some advice from you. And about Otto's program, wow, I want to say it is so amazing because my major in higher education in the higher education. So I always read some books about the philosophy of higher education, the organization culture of higher education, and now you combine the art with the function of higher education. And it's very important, the concept of socially engagement art to involve everybody in the higher education and to share the different perspectives, values, and to increase the communication with each one in the higher education. That is amazing. I have to say, art is not soft. Art is very powerful, and each person needs arts actually. And from your program, I can see that art works powerful for each person, for the whole organization of higher education. So it's really wonderful program. I'm so moved and touched. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was curious that with a program like Goddard that does an undergraduate and a master's, you know, sometimes it's people who are come to it are drawn to the you know, the kind of avant-garde approach. But I'm curious, you know, what I'm thinking for change to happen, that it has to start so much younger. And so Katie, you know, your approach to literature and the translation and valuing of this multi-perspective right from when we start engaging in the narratives of the world. So I see Katie's as super inspiring towards getting people ready for what Otto is doing. I wondered if, Otto, you might even speak to, do you have any pushback from the K-12? You know, like I don't know, the educational environment from where Goddard sits, you know, because that is, because it's low res, you don't have kind of like a trajectory towards, oh, a lot of people go from high school to Goddard, you know. But I'm just curious about that preparation of mind, you know, as you approach a program like the kind you have.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think our undergrads are almost entirely non-traditional students, age-wise. So we have a handful of like 18, 19-year-olds enrolled, but the majority of our students are in their 30s or older, you know, in their 20s, 30s, 40s. And have, you know, most students come to Goddard after dropping out of 3 other schools, and they're like, I know that I want to learn this stuff. I know that I want a bachelor's degree, but I also know that like doing that doesn't work for me. And so so in that way, we don't have that much interaction with high schools in the way that traditional colleges do. We do have an education program, which you know, is slowly infiltrating some of the schools here in Vermont in really interesting ways, like getting project-based learning going in these small public schools in Vermont in some very cool ways. But yeah, I totally agree with you that Katie's project and this idea, I mean, the thing that came up with me, like with that question of untranslatable words, is that, you know, the things that make a certain word untranslatable are the ways that we're acculturated into knowing its meaning, whereas other people from a different culture aren't. But part of that acculturation is like how we encounter language in, you know, children's books, and so in some ways, like the work that you're doing is actually acting upon whether or not these words are untranslatable, you know, which is a cool thing to think about.
I also thought of the term like project-based learning that can be applied on different levels too, and I think it applies to all 3 of these presentations. So in the dance presentation, it's informed by who you are and what space you want to fill and how you want to move and represent all of that. And I feel like that's a project on its own, like internal and, you know, showing who you are with your body. And then with the translation outreach workshops that I was talking about, that's a project that talks about the process of translation and teaches it to kids to have them in their palatable ways understand what language is. And Otto, with what you were talking about, it's reaching out to the community and doing a project of that. So I feel like that term relates to just all 3 of the presentations, and also something we had in common was taking a system and you know, unraveling it and taking it apart and seeing how it's built and rebuilding it. And yeah, I think that while each of us 3 have our own different focuses, it's all informed by art and our backgrounds and what we want to do with it and how we show it to the world.
Totally. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, are we out of time?
We are at 1 minute.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'll save what I was going to say for another time.
So I also want to add a little more about my points. So I feel that there are always boundaries and barriers among peoples. So art is, so especially this socially engaged program help use the art to break the boundaries and the barriers, and to in especially cross-disciplinary, and to absorb different people in different fields contribute the ideas and the brainstorming to each other, and very helpful. And for Anne's point of view, so how to expand the social engaged art from different levels of population. Actually, it is true from the kindergarten to young adult to university students. All the kinds of stages of population should be socially engaged in with the art to be influenced by the power of art. Yeah.
And the one, if we have a couple more minutes, the one a memory that I have of a way that untranslatability and embodiment has impacted my own like conscientization. We had these guest artists, Brotherhood Dance or Behood Dance. They're fantastic. I highly recommend them for y'all dance folks if you don't know their work. But they led this Orisha-based movement workshop, and we're having us, like we're doing all of these traditional dance moves from like Afro-Caribbean dance moves that are associated with different Orisha, and like they've got us all in lines, just walking across the space with these different movements, and like we're doing one around Oshun, and Orlando's just like, no, the hips, man, you gotta swing the hips, you gotta move the hips. And I was just realized like, oh, my hips don't do that. And that means that I don't understand Oshun, because you can't actually understand Oshun if you can't move your hips like that. And that means that like there are pieces of African ontology that are like opaque to me because my body can't do the things that that are part of that understanding. And so like that relationship between like culture and translation, embodied knowledge, and like conscientization and realizing the limits of one's own worldview were really striking to me in that moment. But yeah, I highly recommend Orlando and Ricardo and Behood Dance.
Yeah, that is such an amazing point that, we are in our bodies, and the knowing, right? The knowing of our bodies is relational, right? It's like, what is our relationship to gravity in our culture? Are we up? Are we down? Are we, what are we articulating? What do we use or don't use? Informs so much of our own understanding and our expression. So yeah, we have to have movement as a part of the whole picture of knowledge. Absolutely. Great. Well, it's okay that it's 12:33. There's nothing telling us we have to go to exactly any amount. It's been a marvelous discussion. I really, all morning, it's just been one enriching moment after another. And we have more this afternoon. We've posted some here. Missy is presenting, and we have one before that on the trauma-informed creative practices with Molly Shank, and Missy and Kathy Cerna on their independent community agency for women in recovery. So it's going to be fascinating. And then we've got the practicing somatic social justice together, slow time and spaciousness, with Alexia Bueno and Rebecca Chappelle. So it's going to be amazing again. Have a good lunch. We'll see you in a little bit. And thank you, presenters. Really, really appreciate, and yay that you're out there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Great.
so much.